The introductions are new faces in the room, so if you want to start that way.
Do you want me to
Just gotta bring it back.
Pardon? Do you want me to put it back?
Oh, sure, thank you.
Tina Philpott, Assistant Director of Construction Services for the County School District.
Stephen Howard grabs.
Frank Sell, Enviro Structs. Brian Richards, Representative.
Adam Stanford, Suffolk Construction.
Ben Wilson, Suffolk Treasurer.
Tom Mayo, Public Government.
David Hume, Council Engineering.
Jacqueline Brown, I work for myself.
We all wish.
Yeah, I came home some days.
Art Castellano, Architect.
Teresa Tarori with ABG Architecture.
Bob Taylor with ADG Architecture. Yes, we know each other.
Debbie Jordan, your new board liaison.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, welcome everybody. So before we approve the meeting, the agenda for this meeting, I would like to propose an amendment because Ms. Jordan was not in the agenda and she's gonna probably talk in this meeting, so.
I'm actually on here
Can I have a motion to amend the agenda? Second,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so with that, we're gonna add Ms. Jordan to the agenda, and can I have a motion to approve the rest of the agenda?
Where are you gonna plug Ms. George in?
First in the agenda,
First,
after the approval of the minutes from last meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the revised agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Any opposed? Nope. Thank you. Okay, so now we need to move forward with the approval of the minutes from last meeting. So if anybody has any comments, if not, we need a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wow. Any opposed?
No?
Okay. So with that, Ms. Jordan, you are first in the agenda. Welcome.
Thank you. Well,
And then we'll do public
afternoon.
comments.
I thank you for allowing me to join you. Today, we just had a meeting this afternoon and I became your new liaison. So I'm really looking forward to this committee. My father was a general contractor back in Philly, so I'm familiar with a lot of terminology and just always talking with Scott and everyone else. And I just appreciate what you all do for the district in helping us and guiding us, so thank you.
Okay, that's good. So do we have anybody from the public, any comments? No? So let's move to the next item on the agenda. There is a presentation for the Riverdale High School renovation. Thank you, Tina, for coming here with your team.
Thank you.
So the floor is yours, guys.
This is Helen Williams from VFW Architect. We're going to present our design, and then we also have Ben and Jasmine from Suffolk. They're going to speak to our along Kevin.
Oh, yeah, I always-
All right, I'm going to give you a quick overview, and I'm Ken Shitten today for Brian Lees, the project manager for it. Been doing the lion's share of the work on the project, but we're here to talk about the phased redevelopment plan for Riverdale High School. This will be a multi-phase project, starting with a lot of site and utility work to allow for the future construction. There'll be an addition phase, and then remodeling. Once the additions are done, we'll go into remodeling, which will probably be staged in a number of different sub-phases in order to accommodate the existing and occupied campus. So the why, the district decided they wanted to make a reinvestment into the Riverdale High School and expand its viable lifespan for the campus. There are some deficiencies in the campus, but in general, the bones of the campus is in good shape. It just needs to be brought up to current standards, meet the educational goals, as well as some of the aging requirements, the aging conditions within the school. It will be designed, it is designed for 2,336 full-time FTE, In permanent stations right now, a great number of those FTEs are in portables. Our job is, and part of this project is replace those portables, put them in permanent SRF compliant structures. There are also a number of priorities and specific needs that we work with the school staff to work through and identify a list of things that need to be improved in order to meet the current standards. And the campus is old and it's starting to get a lot of infrastructure decay, and we need to bring the infrastructure up. So, you know, a lot of the effort, a lot of the dollars are going into something we don't even see in a lot of ways. Some of the specific issues or concerns that were brought up is underparked for both staff and students. The drop-off and parent stacking is in a really horrible condition right now. It backs up on the Buckingham Road, and it's so close to the intersection at Palm Beach that it really just become a hazard. We got students parking across the street right now in Publix, and that's not a safe condition under any scenario. The campus has grew over time. Which is typical we see for older campuses. There's a lot of pedestrian concerns we have about parents and teachers having to cross vehicular traffic as they go from one building to another throughout the school. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the portables. There's a bunch of portables in the back of the site that are been there for a very long time and need to get replaced with permanent classrooms and support spaces. The district did purchase a piece of land right here marked F. We're utilizing that land primarily as a way of dealing with the water management issues for the site. And by doing so, we're freeing up some other developable land within the site. So there's also a JROTC tower that's been it's old and I think it's been condemned at this point, not even being used. But so we're going to replace that as part of the program as well. The building itself, there's no fire sprinklers in the building. It was permitted under a different era. We're going to try to address that. There's a number of ADA deficiencies throughout the campus. I mentioned the utilities. A lot of the underground utilities are decayed and not functioning properly and well enough. And the mechanical systems are reaching their serviceable lifespan as well. Some of the kind of functional aspects that the school asked us to look at is to the existing science classrooms don't meet their current educational requirements. So we wanted to replace those. We don't have enough ESE space or resource space to support the campus. We need to provide for the single point entry, which we're doing in all of our new schools as well. The internal circulation of the school with all the different corridors throughout the additions and the pod design has been kind of reverted back, as we've seen a lot of older schools, is very difficult and from a wayfinding standpoint, from a flow standpoint. The gymnasium doesn't have nearly enough seats to be competitive with the rest of the schools and to be compatible to the rest of the schools in the district and throughout the state. The locker rooms are in very poor shape and don't support the athletic programs, let alone the PE programs, let alone the athletic programs. The kitchen is also aging out in terms of its equipment and size. The dining, they're literally eating in corridors here. So we're going to have to enlarge the kitchen, bring it up to date, as well as enlarge the dining area. Restroom facilities are also aging out in terms of the utilities and services to them, and they're really not well located throughout the campus. There is a existing concretable that was built, I don't know, about 12, 15 years ago. It's number 38. We tried to Gestalt that. We were unsuccessful in that effort. State just wouldn't allow us to go that far. And in general, we wanted to refresh the entire campus and kind of bring it. It's been a long time. So when we're going to be doing new sprinklers throughout the campus. So we're going to be doing new lighting, new ceilings, new carpeting to kind of give a refresh to the overall campus. So this is the proposed site plan. What you see in orange are two additions. One is a two-story classroom addition to the west side, and between the existing building and the football stadium will be a new gymnasium locker room building. We've also greatly expanded the parking along the south side of the site here, and we've expanded the drop-off, parent drop-off and pickup loop, as well as staff parking, moving the ingress and egress as far as we possibly could from Palm Beach Boulevard, giving us better stacking and signalization and control of traffic in and out of the site, trying to close off all the other ingresses that we have on the site now. We're having to address the water management, bring it all under a current permit. We're utilizing this space here, expanding the lake to the west to provide for more, more water management for the site, because we are adding some impervious, but it really wasn't as efficient as it was. So, as you can see, all the portables, we've taken the portables out of the back of the site. That's where we're relocating our practice field, which is what give us the opportunity to put new parking here on the south side of the site. There'll be a new entry into the locker athletic facility here off of the big public parking here. There's a county funded pool that's here that's going to remain. We also have some tennis courts that have agreement with the county as well that we're maintaining. So that's kind of the overall site plan. We're diverting the bus drop-off of there's a road that leads out towards signalization at Palm Beach. So we're bringing in deliveries and bus drop-off to the north side of the site. This is the floor plan of the new gymnasium. Entry to the here that will come from the east. New gymnasium with over 1,500 seats. Public bathrooms and concession stand here to the east. All of the new locker rooms, weight room, and support facilities right behind that site there. The idea here is that we're very close to the football stadium, so we can start to utilize this for after hours athletics as well. This is exterior rendering of it. We're trying to much of the campus is built with a utility brick. We're trying to introduce some of that brick into the new buildings to make it tied to the campus. This building will be built with a precast panel, insulated panels. We looked at site cast or tilt wall, and because of logistics, because of safety concerns, we went away from that direction and went to a plant cast system. So, photograph at the entry into the lobby space. Again, and this, if you're familiar with this, there's a auditorium that's right next to this, so we kind of have two major public entries right next to one another, adjacent to the public parking. This is the two-story science classroom building. We have on one side of the corridor the wet labs, and then the instructional lab, the lecture labs on the other side of the corridor. New bathrooms that serve that. And then on the second floor, it's pretty much the same floor plan, but the one thing I wanted to point out is we are connecting this building to the concretable here to provide for one of the deficiencies. That building didn't have ADA compliant elevator in it. So by connecting this to the second floor, utilizing our new elevator here, we're able to make it fully compliant as well. Here's a few exterior renderings again. This building here will be masonry. Because we don't have the tall vertical spans that we have in the gymnasium. We're introducing again some brick on it to tie it to the existing building. Not fully, but just enough to make a connection. And this is from the northwest corner of the science building. From the back of the site to the west. Hey, can I call you back? as we go forward, so the phasing of this is we're actually have a GMP about ready to go to the board. Site work will begin first, as soon as school stops this coming year. We hope to begin that work, last summer, but because of water management issues, we're unable to make that deadline, so it kind of pushed our timeline back. So we begin with the site work. And then this shows you the remodeling plan, which would be the last phase of this once we get the new construction complete. Creating this single point entry here, consolidating administration into one. Right now they're scattered all over. So we're consolidating and right-sizing the administration to the current program, reusing a lot of the existing pods for classrooms, but repurposing them. This area here is where the current science classrooms are. They're well undersized for current science classrooms, but we're able to repurpose them into general classrooms. A lot of that will allow us to take the FTEs out of the portables and bring it into the permanent campus. We're expanding the kitchen footprint here, and the dining right now is about less than a half of the proposed dining room here. We're repurposing the old gymnasium as a multi-purpose gym for practice and other activities. Cheerleading, they have a very active cheerleading program. What was the old locker rooms here will become the academy, since they're going to be totally remodeled anyway. And in Vocal will stay pretty much where they are now. So this is our new science wing here. That's the second floor there. So you can see how at the second floor we're connecting the science classroom to the concretable. So that's, again, the last phase of this project going forward, a couple of years, a year out from now, so to begin. That's it for the kind of the development plan for the project, so be happy to answer any questions you have.
Kevin, I'm very familiar with that campus. I've got 2 kids that graduated from there. As I remember, the quarters have the jumbo brick,
Yes.
dark brick, so the quarters are dark too. Are you doing anything to improve that? So it's
Yeah,
not like you're not.
a lot of it just because of remodeling. We're using the brick now more as an accent, if you will, to identify wayfinding, that kind of thing. So a lot of it will be, covered and painted. We're relighting it, trying to, bring the light levels up because they're right now, you're right, very, low light levels within the corridors and everything. And then, a lot of the color palette that we're trying to develop will also help to brighten the inside of it. But, still keep the brick as kind of the historical, recognition. Where we can, a lot of brick just because of the remodel work, we're not able to keep all of it.
So I have a question. I remember when this project was out for qualifications, and I know that because of the site issues, the permitting was delayed. So how much that affected the budget of the project?
Well, I mean, we all experienced escalation, so we've added another year of escalation to the overall budget. Depends on who you ask. I get different stories every time I talk to people. But we're seeing upwards of 10 to 14% a year, over the last 3 years. And correct me if I.
Yeah, really good, very good.
So it's had an impact. We're also bidding this right now. We just bid it over December, January, and with the impacts of the hurricane, there's certain trades that are also impacted by that. So, and we're seeing that not just in this project, but others that we're currently out for pricing and bidding on right now.
So is this project still for bidding or is already?
No, we bid phase
Yeah,
1 and
okay.
phase 2, the site work and the new construction and the kitchen remodeling work. Also, at this point, we're at this phase of work where we've done the central energy plant upgrade. It requires not only equipment replacement, but an expansion of the footprint. So all those components are bid currently within the current GMP. We're too early to bid the remodel work because no one's going to hold we get a hard time getting them a whole pricing right now for 30 days, so.
We're at the point now, Clarissa, where when we had anticipations of the start last year, had we gotten permitting, we were anticipating roughly, just ballpark, $60 million. We had vetted out several different architectural renderings of different concepts for the campus. Everyone had shown, at this time I call it option D, where a new gym was to be built, science lab, and the existing gym will be converted to other ancillary space. So we thought all said and all in would be about 60 million. And right now, we're probably 40% greater than that. So the number I'm gonna be coming to the board, probably, hopefully the 22nd, if we can get into that date with the board, will be the phase 1 costs, which have already been pre-approved. The phase 2A, which is the one that's going on the 22nd, which is the site work and the new construction. That'll be a cost value of about $68 million to date. And we anticipate another 30 million plus for the interior renovation, which carries us out into FY25. So this inflation has affected this dramatically. And we can arguably say that a lot of the work is up by over 40% during the time frame of design, assumed construction values and costs. Dana and I just had a conversation on dirt. Funny, Ms. Dozier, an old board member used to always say dirt isn't cheap. And I was shocked. The last big high school we did, which was Tina built Gateway High School, we were paying about $13, $14 a cubic yard, which at that time, I was like, oh my God, we're getting old.
Yeah.
Dana's involved in some projects where it's stroking $30 cubic yard in place. I mean, that's insanity. So we're getting shocked. I've got new RFQs for new high school M&M that went out, and and I think you guys saw the values they put in there, anywhere from 120 million to 140 million. I never would have thought that. But the market is unbelievable right now, so.
Well, I can confirm we had a project on the private sector side that was bid, GMP ready to go last spring. And because of financing reason, the owner had to put it on hold until they got bonding issues paid for, and we're just now rebidding it. And I'm seeing right now 13% increase over the MUD numbers we got last spring.
So the question is, in what point, because you're anticipating there will be $80 to $100 million project, but doesn't add students. So in what point is that where you say, we'll make this campus a smaller campus with less kids and we'll do a new high school somewhere else?
The problem is the new high schools that we're planning to do right now are gonna be $140 million. So everything is commensurate.
Yeah.
So this particular campus in the planning and programming is required to stay. The community wants it to stay. The numbers are going to stay. We're trying to elongate the longevity of all of our buildings now. What used to be a 50-year, knock it down, build it new is no longer the case. Because of funding and seat capacity and the amount that we can build, we have to look at reconditioning our existing schools. And as Kevin said, if the bones in the structure is good, then we're gonna repurpose those to keep the seats. Save, I know it doesn't sound like much, but to save money. But that means you have to go in and do all the interior.
Yeah.
These buildings weren't sprinkled. Sprinkling is not cheap. Now, if you're gonna do the sprinkler, you gotta take the ceiling down. If you got the ceiling down, you might as well do the LED lights with the sprinkler with the ceiling. What do you do with the ductwork? You evaluate it. Can we clean it? Is it good for another 20, 30 years? Or do we have to do new ductwork? If you're doing all that overhead work, well, you're gonna wanna do the flooring. If you do the flooring, you gotta wanna do the wall. So basically, if the bones are survivable, it's about this campus will be pretty much fully reconditioned, fully.
Yeah.
And we hopefully extend and get another 50 years out of the facility.
And to that end, when we were going through the programming and the planning phase of this, we had numerous analysis and discussions about just what you're suggesting, in terms of, do we just move on and do a new school? And, I just got said, the price of the new school is going through the roof too, and can't keep pace with that. And now you're also having to buy new property to do it because you can't build it on the existing property when the school's occupied. So there was frank discussions about it and determined that this was still in the best interest of the district. So.
Is Space 2 going to be a year-round or just during summer months?
I mean,
As soon as you're around.
yeah, we'll do it, we did a similar, we did it, a major one at Dunbar High School.
Yeah.
I refer it to people as we cut the torso out and kept the appendages alive while we did the surgery. Lack of a better term, it describes the situation. And we did that during the school year. We did it at Cape High, not quite as an extensive renovation, but a pretty healthy renovation.
So if you're already at a capacity of parking, how are you gonna be able to support cranes, trucks,
Well,
things like that as well at the same time?
there's two reasons that he explained. One is we're trying to get the site work accomplished, a major impact over this summer. So hopefully no kids are there won't be summer school at the school, we can knock out as much as we can. The panels are no longer gonna be precast panels poured on site and erected on site, one because of the area we don't have, and number two, because of the safety issue. So I believe Kevin spoke to you about having off-site panel work being performed and hauled in, prefabricated.
We have set up the project to where, during the summer, we're going to do the underground and also the temporary parking for the students. And that'll pull everybody to one side of the building so that they're not having to go around up and down. And then we'll start building the gym and the science. And the students will not go in that area, they'll park on the side here. So, PSSW and Suffolk have been very creative on swing space because once, we start in the inside, we'll have the science building complete. The science students can go out there and then we'll jump inside to renovate the, existing science. And then we'll just start moving students around.
The MOD was very much part of the design solutions that we came up with, working with Suffolk's team, operations teams.
And part of the rationale, the understanding of what the phase 2B, which is the interior renovation costs that have yet and will be brought to the board, they're much more extensive and it costs more to do renovation. Everybody says, oh, renovation is much cheaper. At the end of the day, renovation, because of the lack of being able to move through the building unimpeded, productivity is much more expensive.
I think we're up to 6 or 7 sub-phases within that 2B that's kind of talked about. Because we're not gonna obviously do it all in one shot. But what we are doing is running the sprinklers during the summertime, getting overhead work done, bringing, getting, as I said, the first phase we're doing of construction, the new construction, will be building up the energy plant at the same time. And also the kitchen work, so the kitchen, you can take the pressure off. There's a lot of, you're gonna be able to, once the gym's used, is being utilized, then what we're gonna do is take the old gym and use that as temporary dining, so that we can continue to grow and reconstruct the
And that'll be done next year, not this year?
Yeah, well, we're gonna start, we'll start the site work, this summer. The new construction will tail once we get the site work done, go through the following school year, and then we'll start the renovation project the following summer. And I think right now we're looking at 18 months on that.
For the renovation piece?
Yeah.
That's correct.
And part of the two thing people have to realize is when we did the newer schools on unoccupied parcels, we didn't require Jessica Lunsford badging for the staff. So we had an unlimited workforce capability. And when those two schools were built, the positive thing from COVID, if there is anything positive that came out of it, was I had all the labor I could handle to build these schools out, and we actually accelerated a lot of the schedule. So it worked to our benefit. Now I'm on an occupied campus with children. That means every worker has to be Lunsford badged. The struggle we're having in my department with all of our vendors that we work with is getting a lot of competitive bids anymore. We used to demand a minimum of 3, preferably 5 electrical mechanical plumbers. People just don't do the work anymore. Everyone is so busy and this is pre-Hurricane Ian, is just so extended that people say, I'm sorry, you're a good client of ours, we would like to bid, but if I can't do the job for you, and we have to respect that. Then Ian hit, and that just compounded that even more so. So we're going into these things struggling to even get bidding. And many of our GMPs, you'll see, we have allowance line items for items. That's because we're still going out, even though we've compiled a GMP, we're still going out. We're soliciting and narrowing down those allowance lines to get good pricing for those scopes of work that just weren't attainable in the bid. Because if we don't do something like that, and I push off the start of the school, I miss another year. And as Dana and some other folks here had said, there's 15% of another year's worth of inflation. And what do you do with those seats again? That means portables are going somewhere to support that short-term need. So at some point in time, it's painful. You have to pull the trigger and you have to make a business decision to move forward.
So what's the overall project schedule duration as it sits right now?
August 25 will be completed.
So far, is it
35 minutes.
7:35?
I have a calculator on my computer, I put this date, and it spits out what
It's like counting days for retirement.
Yeah,
I got that calculator too.
Like it running side by side, right?
Any more questions for Mr. Williams?
Did the Hurricane Ian, constitute any like design changes as far as like flood or like shelter capacity or anything like that? I don't even know.
No real impacts necessarily, no, we are, of course, great, the Windows, systems now that we impact, we're addressing. But no, the flooding issues we've had at Riverdale are not storm related, they're infrastructure related, so.
So the new gym is a hurricane shelter?
No.
EM did not want,
The areas of Hurricane Refuge Center is determined by our partner, Lee County Emergency
Yeah.
Management. And this is not a school that's located in a zone.
Too close to the river.
Exactly. I'm obligated, that's another thing, I'm obligated that, like for NNN High School, I believe that's on the other side of 75, so more than likely that's gonna be a full-blown hurricane shelter. SR 82, I believe, too. So yeah, we can anticipate, and of course with hurricane shelters in the Harding, that also increases the cost of the school. And that I'm obligated by statute, I have to. If we're in a county with a need for safety, hurricane seats, we have to build a service to that. That's right, the state statute requirement.
We're in X zone, so the new view doesn't affect it.
Was Scott really happy that you have this acronym?
Let's call it artistic license.
Hey, what's that, the sound of a still? The sound of a still chainsaw firing up?
No, we're not going to have to.
Well, a couple.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dina, thank you for doing your thing, thank you, Mr. Williams. The project looks really good.
It does.
Yeah.
So that reminds me, on the parking, the new parking, that's gonna have trees in it? Like lead time
No, no
regulations?
trees.
Okay,
And
it's just,
part of
it's
the
really
reason-
hot.
And part of the reason why is we provide for plantings to beautify the front entry of the school. We provide plantings as required by our zoning agency requirements. Because we're a school, we meet with our zoning agencies and we have, for safe school design following Parkland, we can't have shooters purchased, we can't have shooters, places to hide. We can't obstruct our cameras. So we try to beautify, put it to the outboard areas of our properties. And after Hurricane Ian, we had an opportunity to go around the school. Much of the damage was missiles, and the missiles were the trees flying around the table. You sit there, I'm the one who responded to it.
Yeah, I agree, I agree with that.
So the primary was Parkland Road primarily. Secondarily, after the storm, that was reinforced it. So it's not that we're not putting plantings in. It's not going to be, well, we're at a mall, we're forced to put everything in an island in the parking areas for shade and this. Number one, we just don't have the forces to maintain this or the funds to irrigate it and maintain it. Many of the schools you can see where we've tried that, we've attempted that, it looked great for the first 6 months, and then 2 years later, everything was a dead Snoopy tree because it wasn't maintained. So we've tried to be smarter about it. You'll see some of our schools have nice royal palms in the front entry and Elkerton here or there.
The palms perform more poorly than a few of the trees with good apical dominance like slash pines and cypress. The single leader, they did the best.
The problem is,
Even this hurricane, even the Norfolk Island pines didn't come apart.
Okay, and I can tell you too, from a maintenance perspective, everywhere we've had big old maples and the oak trees around, it takes our sidewalks out. Now we have tripping hazards consistently. So I get it, look, you know, I'm not the guy that wants to whip out the chainsaw and take everything down, although some might think that.
Intentionally. At Calusa Middle, they cut down trees that weren't damaged by Hurricane Ian. And I'm glad I didn't see those guys there when they were there.
Everything honestly is for a purpose and for a reason, and the amount of damage that we had sustained from those missiles, we can't afford it. I mean, we're struggling now to rebuild our schools, and we have to make long-term decisions. And again, that doesn't mean we're not gonna plant. We have money. I think we have a $400,000 line item allowance in this budget for plantings, and there will be planting. But we have to be economical, we have to be rational about our placement and thoughtful.
Thank you. That's something we might want to add to the next agenda.
Thanks for setting me up on that, Ryan.
Teed them up, huh?
Thank you for the presentation. So, say that, we need to move to the next item of the agenda, and is discuss the topics for the remainder of the year. And I think that Mr. Freeland has a good topic to add to the agenda for the next 6 months, and it's the landscaping. So if you want to raise that.
If you want it to be toxic,
So,
keep the trees out like that.
So we are, as a committee, looking for suggestions to the topics that we want to cover the next, the remainder of the year. I know that we still have solar as part of our topics, but I also know that the solar company hasn't responded to our request
Did
to
somebody
come here
ask
and
you to-
present.
I can make you respond.
Okay. So we are looking for suggestions, if you have suggestions to add to the agenda. Yeah, I have some suggestions. I think that this presentation was really good, and same thing, the presentation that your company did, Brian, last year on Franklin Park. So I would like to suggest that we have presentations for the other schools that are ongoing, for Myers Tech, the veterans, and the schools that are ongoing or are coming online, so the
Sure.
committee can be aware of that.
What schools, Fort Myers Tech is about 75% complete
Yeah,
overall project, and we can certainly ask if they'd come and do a presentation so we can see where we're at with that. We've got Amanacier, didn't screw it up, Amanacier Elementary, which
50% complete.
Yeah, that's a
that's
tough
about
one.
50%. That might be a good one for some status photos and how that site is shaping out. That's a dual site we did with what is now the new Lands building. We did all the site work and preparation for the future dual site, and now we're dropping the elementary on there. I don't have enough information on the new school that just got advertised, which is Quadruple N High School, which is supposed to be placed at Joel and Tuckahoe, and also OO Middle School, which I believe is still not yet determined whether that's 82 or a property that we're currently looking at for that, the superintendent and the staff are looking at the plan. But that's out in that zone as well. I'm just now looking at some of the due diligence reports on those two properties that we do own, putting together project estimated costs on that, and again, it's no different than Riverdale, it's through the roof. But you tell me which projects you'd like to
And
do.
the other ones are maybe an update of what's gonna happen with the 3K and veterans.
Okay, right now, Veterans Park, if you haven't heard on the news, they're into a naming process. They're splitting the campus back apart. And what was the old Lands Middle School will be named to be a new separate to itself middle school. I can't speak to the program, but I would just assume it has an arts component in with it. And as PPAA will remain at 38, PPAA proper. There'll be that new middle school. We are reviewing all of our capital programs. So in terms of like the G. Weaver Hicks building, for the pre-K detention, the design is done. I believe the GMP is put together. Right now, the capital committee and finance are looking at all of our projects what we're able to fund from a capital perspective. A lot of hurricane has hampered our long-term efforts. Even the tax revenue, now most of our new build schools are funded with COPS funding, supported by tax referendum money. So even the tax referendum money is down, obviously, because of lack of tourism to a certain extent. I don't know those exact figures. So they're looking at everything right now, and they're gonna make a decision as to what projects continue to move forward, what projects may be pushed, say, a year, or what projects could actually be scrubbed. So no determination has been made. I haven't even been privy of this yet. Those discussions are happening at the highest levels. I would assume, I don't want to speak for my upper management, but I would assume, once those thoughts are put together, they'll probably brief the superintendent and the board members as to what that plan is, and then that would be the point in time where it would become public knowledge. I don't have any information specifically on some of those certain jobs you mentioned.
Is there any other?
I have not been told to stop on anything. I mean, in terms of designs and things of that nature, keep those things going. It's just when we begin the actual construction on a specific project is going to be predicated on all of those discussions.
I'm sorry.
Just as our area population grows and the need for schools becomes more and more important for us, and land is almost scarce in some, where I live, for example, in Benita. So I wanted to discuss maybe in the few, sessions, what are the exact plans, what are you planning for Lehigh? I think it's the highest growing area, population-wise. What's your plans for Benita, which is the second highest, for the next few years, maybe 5 years, 10 years? And what's your idea about having I'm sorry to call it like shifts, where you have like some students would come.
They call that a dual session.
Yeah, dual session or triple session, I mean, so maybe in the future, maybe we can discuss that if possible. That's just an opinion.
Clarissa, if you'd like, I can ask planning. I know they were waiting for Davis Demographics, which is our consultant that does the spot surveys, proximity planning, all those things wrapped together. I can ask Joel if he now has that information, and it's possible for Joel, for planning department, to come in and much of your questions that you were just asking, the planning department should be able to show you on those growth maps, because I believe they've already presented to the board members. They can show you exactly the trending areas, where our focus effort is to gain student seats, where we see long-term between now and say 10-year forecast, where they see those growth patterns occurring. I'm not an expert, so I can't really speak to that, but we do have people that could do that if that's something you guys are interested in.
And that's something that was voted on to be at this meeting, and the data wasn't ready, and I did confirm, I did check with Frederick. He didn't confirm completely, but he said he thought that they might be able to reschedule that for the meeting next month, to have them come in and do demographics.
Do we have the solar set up for next month? Or is that
Well,
what you're?
what I hear on this.
Well, the last meeting of last year, the way it went was maintenance had come here, the director of maintenance had come, and they did somewhat of a presentation. There was a motion made for the solar company to do a site analysis at one of the schools in the area. I did try to reach out to maintenance and various people in the meetings. I didn't get really a direct answer, so I don't know if that ever occurred or not. Hopefully it did, but if it did, that'd be great to have them come in and talk about it.
So,
He'll follow up for you. I think I
Thank
will
you.
speak for you, but.
Might have been Island Coast High School, but I don't have my old minutes with me. Island Coast.
One school to use as a potential concept.
they offered to come back and present as soon as the report was done, so.
We gave them electrical use information for maintenance, what our electrical.
Oh, that's
use
right.
was and things of that nature, and just never heard any more information.
Okay, well, I'll follow up right away. In the past, we had actually helped with some of those site selection decisions. So if OO is looking for a site, This is a task that, we're kind of built to help with. We have the protocol in place to, analyze all the conditions and come up with some kind of recommendation scoring if we would find that helpful.
For site?
Yeah.
Okay, well, typically what happens is they have a site selection committee, an ad hoc committee that the board puts together every time they want to buy a parcel. One of the committees they're supposed to bring it forward to at a first blush look is our committee. Excuse me. There is a parcel they're looking at. I would assume when it gets to its due diligence potential and looks like we're gonna do it, they would at some point in time bring it forward here.
Yeah, I've heard a number of different sites, obviously Joel and Tuckahoe is gonna be a combo site eventually. There's the piece of property by Majestic Golf Course and the mystery property down off of 82 that no one seems to know what it is.
Well,
Yeah, you gotta just go on the property appraiser's website, you'll find it.
we try not to get out in the community. When we find a parcel that might suit our benefit, until such times we can get through the due diligence, we don't want to get into a bidding war with other entities. So that's why they kind of keep it under wrap. The superintendent will engage in an initial agreement, not forcing the sale. It forces us basically understanding of a contract, sale price. Allows us to do our due diligence period, and either we close the deal or we not, once they go to the board agreement. Prior to bringing it to the board, they have to have that property site selection committee has to have all the information. It comes through us to take a look and see how they're proposing to use the property, and all those recommendations go to the site selection. They either vote thumbs up, thumbs down, then that recommendation ultimately goes to the board to ratify purchasing the property.
In regards to like the flow thing that we were talking about for like how, like the future programming for, like where there might be needs, is that also taking into consideration this proximity thing that they're doing with elementary schools?
Again, I'm not planning. I would assume that all,
Yeah.
that's been just vetted to the board recently.
Okay,
I'm
because that
sure.
would be interesting, and then also, because I mean, I'm pro, like the kind of proximity to the neighborhood, like whatever.
It's elementary only.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
but that also is like that's part of this flow thing. It's like, it's, if we're doing that and then having proximity schools, it's like, what is that gonna do to the busing or the parent pickup or the car line? And that whole, I mean, that would be interesting to see, because it's like these local schools aren't set up for that.
Joel, our interim planning director,
Yeah,
he manages all of that. He's the
Okay.
one who presents to the board with some of the experts in terms of the proximity plan, the purchasing the property, where the growth is. So again, that would be something if we bring the
That would be
forward
interesting.
presentation, he could speak to.
Yeah, so what I hear is we have a list of items that this is what I hear. Bring the solar company back to present the study that they say they were going to do in one of the schools. Present Fort Myers Tech, Amanecer, have planning talking about demographic displacement in new schools. Touch on the school landscaping and how we're gonna address the trees, yes. Site selection, and I don't know if site selection process and how the CAC committee can help with that, because one of our duties always was that we could help, we could advise on or help on site selection and give also our opinion, but it never happened. So I think that will be a great idea if we can have some kind of, we are able to help on this. So this is what I hear, so.
Also, Art had requested something.
In May,
To,
roofing.
Art, can you?
I thought it was the.
That you want added to agenda?
We talked about the
payments.
Well, he voted, I think, for the month of May for roofing as a topic.
Oh, man, yeah.
And Trent Swartz voted for design discussions in the month of April.
What you mean with design discussions?
Here was his motion.
actually on topic.
I guess the question is, do we need a motion to list all of these, or we have all of our topics already selected?
items we've already talked about in the past several times.
Yeah, the only thing that we are adding right now is
The two schools.
the two schools will keep doing architects presentations or.
And that would be good for the month of April.
May I be so bold
We
as
are
to make a
covered.
suggestion? I think you all came up with a great group of ideas to move us through the year. But let's bite off the small piece of the sandwich right now. And what topics would you like to have brought to you for the next?
Planning, we've been asking for planning.
Okay, Juliet, that's
yes.
it. We're gonna get a hold of Joel and gotta schedule.
Right, and Frederick and,
Schedule,
Assuming he can meet that schedule.
yes.
right,
Correct,
that's,
so in the event that planning isn't prepared or the information hasn't been brought public yet or put together, what would your option be for next month's?
Anybody?
I would say
The
the
solar
solar.
guys are thinking that it's was it March 4th? What's the date?
March 1st, it's like 1 month.
But I can't operate
Yeah,
in
that would be
world.
next
I
month.
can't operate in that world, so when you get a commitment from these people that they will show back up
Yeah.
and have a presentation ready and they're in town, then I think, board chair, I think that's when you consider that, so let's get confirmation that they will be ready and when they wanna show. But I just need two topics for next meeting, one is planning, and if that can't be accomplished, you as a committee, what would you like to have your second topic be?
Anybody any suggestions? I like the site selection.
Then we talk about the procurement, the process for the payment system or something like that, the last meeting.
the closeout process.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Said that was gonna come back, yeah.
Cause you were working on like a phasing thing, you were like partially into that.
Something that you had put in contracts temporarily, but you were looking for a permanent fix.
Correct. If you'd like a presentation on what we did, I can show you. We had amendments made, but we were unable in these current GMPs to get them done in time to get to the board to maintain project schedule, but we have revised the project contract. So our new CMAR contract moving forward, embedded, we have corrected that language that forces the insurance programs to be auditable, it forces the insurances to be auditable, it forces them to close their jobs down within 90 days of substantial completion. They have to provide all the documentation to our outside auditor, or they could possibly pay for the cost of the audit. So we had some amendments we just tried to get through, we've got a lot of pushback, and it was gonna jeopardize two projects I need to get going. So we didn't force those agendas on them now. But some of the language is already in their contract from a previous amendment we got executed. But all new contracts being let, that would be for NN high school, OO middle school. We've had our legal team update and revise the contract based on our external auditor's recommendations.
So you want to add that?
So, Scott, what would be, of the topics we've mentioned, which ones would be easiest to pull together?
So, can I make a suggestion before you dive into that? So, we had kind of told the solar people that they were coming. So, if he can confirm this week, before the end of this week, that they can be here at the March meeting, can we do the solar and the planning then? And then.
Oh, I would figure one or the other day.
Yeah, the planning meeting then I said is probably gonna be open to a long discussion, so I think that the planning meeting should be by itself.
Agreed. So let me see if planning, well, why don't we do this? I like your idea, Dan, if it's acceptable to you, the committee. Let me reach out, we'll reach out to Dominic tomorrow, Juliet, or Joel. Monroe. For a Freudian slip.
Would you like to make a motion, Dana, so it's formal?
And then what we'll also do is, in the meantime, this gentleman can reach out to the solar people and see if they're committed. And if the solar commit people were already advised that they would come to the March meeting, and he gets a confirmation that they'll be there, then you as a committee can vote whether you want to go forward.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion. I'm gonna make a motion that for the next meeting, the first meeting in March, that we plan on the planning department to come in and explain the shifting of students, their population, what's going on in Lehigh, Benita, where are the needs, what are the proposals? If they have sites to look for, great, as a backup. If they can't get the information in a presentation form in time, then we're gonna verify, that the solar folks are available and that they can present. And if planning can present, then I recommend as part of the motion that then the solar goes on the following meeting. So that,
Okay.
because we can't keep stringing them out.
We have something slated that April.
Well, I know, but
I repeat the whole motion. Second,
Planning or solar?
yeah,
Yes.
it boils down to
Planning or solar?
Yes.
planning
Solar.
first if they're available.
so the
Then
motion
they
is,
did, if
yes.
they don't, and solar can fit the bill, then solar.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. You guys say more?
Any discussion?
Discussions on this? I have a,
You have a mouse?
Yeah, me.
that's good. I think everybody, so approved,
Discussed out.
discussed out. Approval? Anybody opposed? Okay, so that's what we are doing. That's good.
And then what was the April one that was slated for April?
I think we have a whole list. The list will be, I want to read it again. So we have the solar and the planning. Those two will be March or maybe April,
Yeah, or April.
one or the other.
I just thought you mentioned one for
Yes,
April.
and then we have site selection, landscaping on new schools, site selection, the roofing that was proposed before, and the presentations for the schools that are ongoing, including for Myers Tech and Amanecer.
Okay, so then the schools thing could be like May and June? Because we're
Yeah.
still having June, right?
We can do that.
Not really school in June.
Yeah, we have more topics for the meetings.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah.
Those are
So
usually
on-
our presentations.
So discussion for the group, so on site selections, if they are getting ready to buy a piece of property, they need
We'll
our
do that
input.
first.
I think that needs to supersede anything that we've got on the agenda.
So if site selection is ready,
And we wouldn't know that until
Till due diligence is passed.
till they walk in,
No.
until we all walk in at the meeting and go, we got a site selection we want you guys to review.
When it comes to site selection, you can't, this is a public meeting. Site selection is a private, kind of internal process.
Well, then
Well,
we
no,
can't-
they have to have a public meeting, the board nominates a committee, but we have a voice that we bring our review and recommendation to the site selection committee, just to say that the construction advisory committee has looked at it, we've seen what you propose to do with the site, we're thumbs in, we're thumbs down, whatever. They're the official body that was created by the board to actually give.
So we're looking at all the sites at the same time, giving our opinion that are on the table.
I can't speak to, I know there's one site they're looking at now, I don't know if there's others. I know of one site, I don't want to mention what that site is, but it is beginning the due diligence process.
I also, site selection goes with planning, demographics and planning, because we need to talk to the planning group first to know where the county is growing, where the schools are needed, before we can give an opinion on site selection. If not, we'll be like, oh, I like that site, but that's
I think
it.
would be bringing the sites to us.
Yeah,
That's right.
They can't show it to us.
that's the idea.
Well, no, once due diligence is done, they can bring the due diligence comments in, they can bring any proposed site plans they had, conceptual site plans. Let you guys look at it with your expertise, what do you think about the Army Corps, about the wetlands, about the road access?
One thing I don't know that if you can hear, everybody will hear, Scott, that they keep talking about is the public forum that we're in. Does that shoot us in the foot, not us, but the school district in the foot, in that you're trying to go through due diligence and purchase the property, we got a public forum, is our forum. So if we have somebody from the public, I mean, is that gonna be counterintuitive to what we're trying to do?
Let me ask you a question.
This meeting,
But I
I have
believe
to.
once the letter of intent is signed by the superintendent, he goes to the board for that permission. Once the letter of intent, that locks in the terms of the proposed purchase, meaning that seller cannot go, he can speak to whoever he wants, hey, if the school district doesn't work out on this, you wanna buy this property.
Right.
He cannot engage in a contract, he's agreed to sell this property within this time frame, once we do due diligence and nothing, we fall out of love with the property and bail out, then he's free to do what he wants. And there's usually a time frame associated. I think once that letter has been engaged, then it's kind of,
Public?
maybe, I'll ask the question.
Oh, you can't change the terms, we don't, you
Um,
don't wanna create a bidding war, you don't wanna put a random
It's
piece of
locked
property
in.
out there that
It's
gives
locked.
them leverage. But once the LOI is signed, then, we'd be allowed to discuss it without doing any harm to
Correct.
negotiations.
Technically, the seller cannot bail out if he were to get a better offer from somebody during the due diligence period.
Just go ahead.
It's last year, we had some difficulties with having the paperwork that we can study about sites. It was just on the spot. And we normally had one option to look at. So if I can recommend that we have at least some time to look at the paperwork. I mean, I can't study it while I'm sitting here in the meeting and give a decision.
I think that's
We're not gonna have to
And
yeah, I think
and then the
that's.
second thing, if we can have more options for the sites, that also, widens our issues. But sometimes we don't have the chance to do
I
that.
don't know how much time you would be afforded from the point where the due diligence was received and completed. There is a clock ticking as to when we have to go to closure, either buy the property or not. And that has to be coordinated with a board action meeting to ratify the purchase. So it's gonna be, as Dana said, it's gonna be one of those things that are we may show up and it just falls in line with a meeting and say, hey, here's our opportunity to look at this property real quick. I will have copies of the due diligence. If I know that's coming in advance, I certainly will try to get electronic copies of the due diligence and the site plot, have it emailed.
The agenda, so we
everyone on the
can
panel.
review it in advance, yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah,
we
but
didn't have
that's
them.
unfortunately, that's something that we can propose when they come and do the presentation, if we can have some extra time to review, but it's not always the case.
But I agree that like knowing where the needs are helps us.
Yeah, that's the reason planning should be as soon as possible, planning is.
And the other question is, how qualified is the site selection committee?
That committee
the same thing.
That's-
They're basing it off the demographics and the numbers and the land, because their land's not growing, it's there.
That committee is put together by the board. I believe they have experts in land, they have experts in design, they have experts in business that all comprise that panel. I can't speak to it, I don't have anything in it, but I don't think it's Joe off the street that they just right here to come show up at this meeting. They're people that have knowledge and skill in looking at what they're doing.
And, as we're talking about now, I think there needs to be a pre-meeting with this group to decide how's the best way for this committee to engage that committee. We're talking about making decisions about bringing property in front of us, but we don't know all the sequence, we don't know all the pieces.
Yeah, I mean,
I suggest-
like, who are they?
I suggest we have a pre-meeting with this group to talk about how best to engage our committee with their committee. And then we can be more productive, I think.
How about you make the motion to do that, so we can formalize it instead of a suggestion?
Their committee.
Let's do this formal, so we can.
Their committee
contact
doesn't
them.
really exist and
Right.
meet on a regular basis. The committee is formed to come together to make a recommendation at a board action meeting to the board.
But again, like who, do they have a real estate background? Do they have, I mean, like whoever the humans
I
are.
think what the intent is that you as a group
Yeah.
reviews what documents we can provide you in terms of due diligence, and you are making a recommendation. It might be that you see something in there that you just think is horrendous and shouldn't be moved forward. That might be your recommendation, and that goes forward. They either accept it and use it in their decision making or not.
I mean, some of these committees, when we were part of it, sometimes they have other committees. Like our construction, they have a financial committee that they will have people come from it. They'll have diversity committee that would recommend people to join the site committee.
And I believe-
Have public.
I believe you are correct, sir. I believe that's what makes
So
up
from
the
that
composition
committees like
of
us,
this site acquisition.
When the
then we should.
When the meeting is due, by the time that we see it, that we get to review it, What kind of action do we have?
You're not providing action, you're providing recommendations.
Recommendations, I mean, that's where it's already almost.
Well, you know what?
No, I mean, that's not. I'm just trying to figure out.
We're just providing your panel's review and concerns to that committee prior to them making a vote and then bringing it forward to recommend it to the board.
Are there any consistent members of that committee
I
that
can't
we
speak
could talk
to
to?
Like I said, this is a committee that they choose members. When there's a parcel to be bought and brought forward to the board, they ask them to convene, they review the information, and they vote.
I don't think it's our job to question the qualifications of other committees appointed by the board. What I think our job is to do is to look at the data that they provide and advise them based on our knowledge and experience in construction and design and whatever, and give them input so that they can make a rational decision, and that's it.
I mean, to the best of my knowledge, the board assigns to the different committees like ours, so that each committee will, if I could say, let somebody who volunteers to that. See, that's what happened to us when I was part of the diversity committee. They said to us, we need someone to be part of the site selection. But the site selection committee has two parts. The people that are with the board and the people that are gonna build or planning for it and so on. And we sit together a number of times on a specific site, to the best of my understanding. But sometimes these sites, as I said, it's just one site. You either yes or no, and most of us will say yes.
We will do something. I think this is a discussion that we can have as a committee of how we want to operate as the construction advisory committee and interact with the site selection. So why we don't leave this discussion for the meeting when we talk about site selection? And if it's worth it to put some kind of procedure in place, or how we can help the school district, or how we can advise on this, it's a discussion for another meeting. We okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so say that, we need to move to the order. So let's start that way.
Mr. Wood?
I have one question, kind of for the school board member. Is there any way of getting or introducing work-based learning to the technical colleges here locally?
I'm sorry, say again, please?
Introducing a work-based learning program to the tech schools? Other counties allow for every 265 hours of the NCCER to go out into the field and actually do hands-on work while getting paid, but also getting classroom credit hours.
So in other words, being an intern and
Being an
getting paid.
intern,
Like an intern.
yeah,
Credit.
once you have a
And
semester.
credit.
Yeah.
I do not have an answer for you, but I will get an answer for you.
Lively High
Because I'm thinking it's
School.
probably state.
The person who might.
I just would.
It's county specific, so it's for county specific.
Okay, I will check
Ms.
that out.
Jordan, the person, Rita Davis, I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah.
she got married, I don't know if that's current, but Rita Davis might be the best person to
Awesome.
communicate to.
Well, John, okay, I need to ask.
I believe you have a
Yeah, the
suggestion.
Lively High School has that.
Yeah.
For construction.
For construction, exactly.
Yeah, they have, I think, Habitat for Humanity, they actually build homes and they sell it, so that's one thing. I'm not sure the rest of the schools do that. But Lively in East Naples.
So Collier has their own specific way of doing things. But going back to an earlier conversation with the Riverdale being built, if we had access to kids who are already in school, through the school system, to be able to use them for internship labor or whatever for 6 weeks per semester, it might be a big help.
I have a desk.
What's that?
I have a desk in my office. I need them.
I'm good.
Fine.
I just think in consideration for district staff, if the meeting's supposed to go to 5:30, we should probably try to end it at 5:30.
I agree with
We
you.
need to get down to the families and such. I'm good staying as late as we need to, but.
I completely agree with you.
I live in two women. I'm gonna be here.
So you gotta pick less, all of you.
I'll make it short. In 2008, we built 5 charter schools that were remodels, and Community Education Partners out of Nashville, they had a program where they used the same seat 3 times during the day, 8 to 12, 1 to 5, and 6 to 10. And it was for a special population of kids that they had kids already, or they're working part of the day, or they just want to do the minimum to get through high school. They went to a separate charter school. There are a lot of kids in the high school that probably don't want to be there, so maybe the minimum curriculum, I'm just throwing this out there, that we know we have a problem with way more kids than we have buildings for right now, so I think it'd be better to deal with them within the school system than to have them go out to a charter school.
Thank
That's
you
it.
so much.
Sorry.
I'm looking at you.
I'm just listening, taking notes.
Okay, so I don't have anything, so motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, we're out of here, sorry, we were off for 10 minutes, I promise you, we'll finish 5:30 next time.
Thank you, ma'am.